I think the Saints actually have done a decent job of filling some needs at weak points in their roster through the draft, through free agency. Now, obviously, they're not, filling these spots with star players, but I think they have done a decent enough job at addressing some of the weak points of the roster. You look at through the draft, starting with the offensive line. What did they do in the first round? Take Kelvin Banks Jr. Left guard is open. It's an open starting position that nobody knows who's going to play it. But then they go out and draft Kelvin Banks Jr. And now it's like, okay, well, the Saints have five offensive linemen that are going to start. We'll see how it all plays out and what positions they're going to be in. But it now seems like they have their five starting guys. They also signed Dylan Radins in free agency. They signed Will Clapp. So they also not only got a starter in the draft, but they also got some nice, decent depth pieces through free agency, right? If you look at the flip side on the defensive line, they go out, they get Vernon Broughton Jr. to help shore up run defense. Run defense for the Saints has been bad the past few years, so they go out, they draft Vernon Broughton Jr. out of Texas, a guy who is going to be really stout against double teams and help right away against the run. They also acquired Godshaw, right, from the Patriots. That's another guy who's going to come in and help you run defense. You look at the running back position. We all know we can't count on Kendre Miller to be there to back up Alvin Kamara, unfortunately, right? We've touched on it a bunch on this channel. You just can't trust him. I hope he stays healthy. But what do the Saints do? They go out, they get a productive running back out of Kansas, Devin Neal, in what was it, the sixth round. Super productive running back, can catch the ball, run the ball. He's not going to fumble, and he's just going to come in and be able to give you consistent quality play right away to back up Alvin Kamara. And hey, listen, in a perfect scenario, Kendrick Miller does stay healthy and they have sort of a three-headed monster system going on, right? But unfortunately, you just can't count. You look at the linebacker situation. Demario Davis is getting older. Pete Werner looks like he may have reached his ceiling, maybe even regressed a little bit. They go out, they get a production machine and Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma, a guy who can fly around, make a ton of tackles. Again, super productive player, young leader. Everything you hear about that guy, it sounds like he's a really good dude off the field and will bring some nice leadership again to that side of the defense to go along, with the leaders that are already the older leaders that are already there, I should say. You look at the cornerback position. They have not a very deep room, really, even post draft, but still, they go out and get Quincy Riley, a guy who's going to compete for a starting role from day one. Justin Reed, they bring him in. He's going to be a starter next to Tyron Matthew. So, they address the secondary through free agency, through the draft. You also get Jonas Sanker, another safety. So they're hitting and also Isaac Yiadom, I forgot. They bring him back. He's a nice depth piece. He's a guy that who knows, maybe playing meaningful snaps for the Saints next year. We don't know. So I think really in terms like when you look at it from a broad picture, they've done a decent job of addressing weak points in their roster. Now, you may have noticed there is a position group that I did not mention, and that is wide receivers. I think even post free agency, post draft, there's still a pretty big uh hole, if you want to call it that. Like, if you look at it, what do the Saints have? They have Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Brandon Cooks. That's sort of the big three right now. And if you go through them and break it down, Chris Olave, let's be honest, he's probably one head injury away from that being it. Just being honest. Like, so, and then you look at Rashid Shaheed coming off a knee injury. He's also had knee issues back in college. So who knows, in that regard, right? And then you got an old Brandon Cooks as your number three receiver. So right now, definitely not feeling confident at all in the Saints receiving room. You got other guys on there like Dante Pettis and a couple other guys, Bub Means, who they drafted last year, who I'm curious to see if he's taken any steps uh, towards improving because he showed some flashes last year. But I mean, for the most part, it's pretty underwhelming receiving. Again, I like Olave, I like Rashid Shaheed, but you got the health problems or the health concerns there with them. And another thing is they're really missing that big bodied receiver, right? The big guy who you could throw out there in the goal line, throw a fade to, throw a slant to, and he can box out defenders and make a catch. And at this point in the offseason, there's really not a whole lot of options, especially post draft. Now, I really did think that the Saints would address that in the draft, but they didn't. And so now that really leaves you with a couple of options. Number one, you can trade for one. But with a team like the Saints, who's in the position that they're in, trying to rebuild things here, whether they want to admit it or not, you don't really want to trade for anybody because you don't want to give up any future assets. That's like the worst thing you want to do when you're trying to build your team back up from nothing, right? And so the other option that you have is free agency. But again, at this point, about to be May, or it is May, it's pretty slim pickings out there on the free agency board. And when you look at it, there's really two names that stand out. There's Amari Cooper, which, he got traded to Buffalo last year, didn't really do anything at all. It seems like he may be done for. And then there's a guy that kind of also sticks out, even more so to me than Amari Cooper, and that is Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen is interesting because despite him being more of a big body receiver, I mean, he's 6'2", right? He's got decent size. He's not like, humongous guy or anything, but despite him being that big body receiver, he's really played the majority of his career in the slot. And that has made for him to have a pretty productive career because he's been matched up on the slot defenders, a big body guy in the slot defender, really good route runner, really good release, and so he's had a pretty productive career. But if you look at him now, um, let's see, here we go. If you look at him now, he is 32 years old, right? Obviously on the wrong side of 30, but he could give the Saints a big bodied option, right? He could give the Saints some peace of mind, leadership, and certainly could be productive for them. I think. Like if you look down here at last year, he was with Chicago last year, right? And he played in 15 games. He had 70 catches for 744 yards with 7 touchdowns. So 744 yards, 7 touchdowns. I would be ecstatic if he could give the Saints something similar to that, right? And this, granted, was playing with a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. Now, if he does decide to sign with the Saints, he's probably going to be playing with a rookie quarterback again in Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler if he wins that out. But I would be happy with a guy like Keenan Allen to come in and give you 744 yards with 7 touchdowns, right? Because he doesn't have to be the guy. Throughout his career, he has had to be the guy in L.A., San Diego, back when they were there, the Chargers. He's had to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the guy with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed there. He just has to be a reliable target that the quarterback can go to down in the red zone or big third downs, or when they're doubling Olave and have a safety over the top of Shaheed, go to Keenan Allen. A guy that can get open for you in a desperate time of need. So I think especially he'd be good with a guy like a rookie quarterback because again, he is that safety blanket and he's smart, brings leadership. And again, like he is 32, but he was semi productive last year and not the best of positions or offenses, I should say, right? And he also another um talking point is he played under Kellen Moore actually when Kellen Moore was the OC for the Los Angeles Chargers a couple of years ago, and I seen a clip the other day of him basically talking about playing with Kellen Moore. It was at during the time, and he was talking good about it. I don't know where I seen the clip. I'll try to find it, but he was basically saying how he enjoys playing under Kellen Moore because he listens to the players and takes feedback and implements the feedback. And basically, he had a lot of good things to say about Kellen Moore. So if we see a Kellen Moore signing from the Saints within the next couple of weeks, it would not shock me at all. And I think the Saints need to go out and do something at that receiver position. They need a big body guy. They need another guy in that room that can help out and catch some tough passes when everybody else is covered, or if God forbid injuries happen again this year. So Saints, go out, sign your receiver. Keenan Allen is sitting right there. Appreciate you guys watching.